Greetings, my saplings. Alright, so in today's video, we are going to be discussing the Serena Williams and Off-White Blazers. To be specific, like always in these How to Cop guides, we will be mentioning some release info, some background information, how to cop the sneakers, and of course, some resale predictions. Like always, guys, for those of you who may be interested in reselling the sneaker. With that, though, let's kick it off with some background information for the sneaker. But I understand, for those of you who really don't care about the background information, feel free to skip to this part of the video for the How to Cop. But with that, why don't we jump right into it? Being that this is not just any Nike and Off-White sneaker, of course, it is imperative that you guys know who Serena Williams is. For those of you who may not be familiar with her, let's start off with the basics. Serena Williams is an American tennis player who is recognized for her style of play, which centers around power rather than agility. Evidently, this has taken her quite far, considering she has won more Grand Slam singles than any other woman and man. It must also be noted that she actually lost to Osaka this year. Clearly, this was also a very controversial match. Serena Williams was penalized for cheating and was also penalized for verbal abuse. The essential reason why I'm mentioning this was because Nike was actually supposed to have a release for these. Now, it was supposed to be just a sneakers pass for New York. However, there was also a lot of potential for a shock drop on that date as well, considering they were already loaded up onto Nike sneakers by this time. So, of course, this was definitely a very stressful day. Moving on, though, many people speculated that another potential drop would occur on September 26th. I accepted this as a possibility personally, but I knew that it was unlikely considering that people were associating this date, this potential drop, with her birthday. She's a Jehovah's Witness, and if you guys were unfamiliar, just like I was before I decided to do some research last month, Jehovah's Witnesses actually do not celebrate their birthdays. So evidently, there would be no significance for the 26th at all, so clearly it made sense that they didn't release on the 26th. But now, moving into October. Last week, I actually informed you guys that you should be prepared for a drop going into the last week and a half of October. At this time, there was currently lackluster information. However, now, we got a little bit more information. Back then, I thought that it was going to be a shock drop, and I honestly wanted you guys to be 100% prepared for that just in case. But now we have information that these will be releasing on October 25th for $130. So with all of that background information out of the way, now you know a little bit about Serena Williams herself. Now you know a little bit about the shoes in case anyone happens to ask you about them. Now you might not just stand there not knowing what to say, but now let's move on to the how to cop portion of this video. So the first thing I wanted to mention for how to cop these is that you can actually get a head start on copying these right now because Kith is actually doing an in-store raffle for these. Now granted, this is Soho pickup only, and I do believe you have to be within 50 miles, or you could, I guess, fake your address. Even if you are 50 miles away, I personally do think it is definitely worth the drive. When we get to the resale predictions, I'll cover why I think you should be able to cover the prices of tolls, gas, etc. It'll be completely fine, guys. And regarding Kith, you could actually make multiple entries on here by using the +1 +2 jig that we've been talking about for a while. Basically, all you got to do is add a +1 +2, really any number with a plus sign before it with a Gmail email account. It will come right before the @gmail.com. And unfortunately, this doesn't work with Yahoo or Hotmail or anything like that. Additionally, for your account, you also will need a random phone number. You don't have to make a random phone number. What I tend to do is just change up the last few digits. There's no verification process through the phone number, unlike with Nike. Then also the last word on your address, just for safety, I tend to change that up. For instance, if it's street, I could put ST, or I could put street, maybe spell it wrong. But the only thing is, make sure that your name is the same on every single account. They're not going to be excluding your account if you have the same name, because let's be honest, there's a lot of John Smiths out there. I also am confident that more raffles will come up. If they do happen to come up, I will put them on my Twitter. My Twitter is KeithAdam10. I'll have them as a pinned tweet. Hopefully they do come up pretty soon. If they don't come up before the 25th, I am expecting something to happen afterwards. But anyway, moving on to Nike and Nike sneakers. So let's kick it off with actually Europe and Canada. There is no confirmed date as of now for them. The information I was giving you was for Nike sneakers US only. However, I still am very confident that they will be eventually getting these pairs simply because Japan actually already dropped these. I also am expecting Europe to be getting a draw in comparison to the Canada release, which on Nike.com, it should be a first come first serve process. But anyway, with that out of the way, why don't we move on to Nike Sneakers US? Because I understand that the majority of my viewers are from the US. So, kicking it off on the 24th, actually, before the release date, we will see a sneakers pass for these. Now, they usually tend to come up at 11 a.m. Eastern Time to 3 p.m. Eastern Time, so that is when you should have your eyes open. Of course, it wouldn't hurt to just be aware of notifications throughout the day. And I am expecting us to be getting a 15-minute warning, just like we have with past Off-White releases. I understand that with some shoes, we don't get that 15-minute warning. It's almost just like a shock drop, and it's really difficult to cop because sometimes it doesn't even load up in time for the majority of us, including me. So I am expecting us to get that 15-minute warning, but just to be safe, I do recommend staying on the app for the entirety of those 15 minutes because occasionally they do also tend to release early. I've seen it come as early as within 10 minutes or so. So what's essentially going to happen here is that a reserve button pops up right under the product page, the main Sneakers Pass page. All you got to do is keep your finger hovering over that vicinity, so when it does come up, you just have to tap that, then you click on the location. There should only be one location, unfortunately. I was expecting it to be New York City and Chicago, but there's going to be a chance that it's only New York City, considering that the 97s were also New York City only. But anyway, after you click on the location, you then select your size. Unlike Leo drops, this is not a randomized process with a small window. This is first come, first serve. So whoever's able to click the fastest, they're the ones who win. Now, unfortunately, it's not necessarily skill-based. So I could be really fast manually. I could be really good at doing this, but I still might not cop for one reason, being that my internet connection may suck at the time if I happen to be outside of my house, not near my router, or perhaps if my phone sucks, which it does suck. I have a really bad phone. If your phone isn't super fast, that obviously reduces your chances of copying significantly. Of course, if you have the newest phone and it happens to be very fast, I do think that you have a much better chance of copying these sneakers off of a sneakers pass. Now, I understand a lot of you guys aren't within the New York area, and you just have to be within a 25-mile radius, and if you are willing to make an even longer drive, you could spoof your location with iTools. I might make a full video on this in the future, so let me know if you guys would be interested in that. Additionally, I would like to mention, for a lot of you guys who tend to complain that it's impossible to cop off of these sneakers passes because of bots, I understand that it is near impossible to cop off of these sneakers passes, but what I do want to mention is that all manual users should be trying this if you're within that location or if you're spoofing location, just because there are no bots that could actually bot the sneakers pass. So obviously this is really great for me and you, us manual users. But anyway, with that out of the way, why don't we move on to the main drop, the big drop, you know what we're talking about for Nike Sneakers US. The main drop will occur on the 25th of October at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Now the product page should actually come up for these about 3 to 4 hours, perhaps a little more, after the sneakers pass goes live. So don't freak out if you're not seeing anything on Nike.com/launch as of now or on your app. Anyway, unfortunately, this is most likely going to be a draw. That's what Nike has been sticking with for the majority of these Nike and Off-White sneaker releases that aren't shock drops. So obviously, for manual users, this isn't going to be too fantastic. So unfortunately, I'm not even expecting myself to cop on this release, just because there is going to be 35,000 pairs on Nike Sneakers US, which, don't get me wrong, that's not a bad number in comparison to a lot of other Off-White releases. This is actually somewhat close to what we saw with the Off-White BLAZERs. The Off-White BLAZERs, I do believe, were each 42,000 pairs in total, so that's not just for Nike Sneakers US. Regardless though, these are still going to be very limited, so don't count your chickens before they hatch. I am very confident that a lot of you guys will end up copying. Usually when I do tweet out that I didn't cop, a lot of you guys reply in my comments saying that you were able to cop, and honestly, that makes me equally as happy. Of course, I'm a little jealous at times, but you know, I'm happy for you guys. Anyway, to increase your chances to the fullest extent possible, before I was referring to using multiple accounts. Now, the majority of you guys already know what I'm talking about. For all the noobs out there, the new guys, basically, let me break it down for you very quickly. You can keep the same address on every single account. You can use the same payment max 3 times. Then you need different phone numbers. You could just ask a friend to use their phone number, and they'll send over a verification code. Then you also need to have different emails, or you could use the +1/+2 jig that we mentioned earlier in the video. Then also 3 accounts max per IP address. So this means you could have 3 accounts on your Wi-Fi before you risk getting temporarily IP banned. Then you could have the rest on your phone, and you could have your phone using data so it's not connected to your IP address. For instance, you could have 3 accounts by having one on the Sneakers app, then you could have one on Google Chrome, and you could have one on Safari. I'm also pretty confident that the Sneakers app doesn't actually count as one, so perhaps you could actually download Firefox as well, so you you could have Firefox, Chrome, and Safari, and the sneakers app. So that's 4 accounts right on your phone. Then you could also bring your computer wherever you are, and then you could have 3 accounts on your computer. And then if you happen to have another computer, perhaps set up a VPN on there, or just borrow a friend's phone and turn that one onto long-term evolution as well, because that will have a different gateway. Of course, the biggest thing to note here, though, is that you'll only have 10 minutes to do this. So even if you decide to go all out and make 20 accounts, you probably won't get in all 20 accounts manually, just because sometimes there's a lot of lag on Nike sneakers. Sometimes it could take upwards of 30 seconds to 1 minute to enter just one account in. A lot of you guys are upset because there's a couple of you guys out there who haven't taken W's at all. I mean, the majority of us have copped at least one of these releases, but there are some of you who haven't copped at all, and the time will come. And I can assure you this, because not only are they increasing stock very slowly, there's also so many opportunities to come in the future. So I urge you to just keep trying on every release. There's always going to be more opportunities. So that will conclude it for Nike sneakers. Also, there is a chance that it will be a Leo drop. For the Leo drop, it's the same exact process. Only difference is, instead of 10 minutes, consider it like a 1 to 2 minute window instead of 10 minutes. And it will appear to be like a first come first serve process. So be a little faster on those. But anyway, I'm still expecting a draw. I'll keep you guys 100% updated. Feel free to turn on post notifications and subscribe if you happen to be new. With that though, let's move on to some resale predictions. So I think it's quite obvious for the majority of us that these are going to be very profitable. Regarding how much profit you might be asking, well, first of all, we got a retail of $130. Regardless of if you have to pay tax or not, or shipping, this is just an exceptional price. $130 is like nothing. Then you consider the fact that these shoes are in very high demand. Not only that, but like I was mentioning, the stock is very, very low. Right now, pre-sale is pretty high, and I don't expect these prices to last at all, so don't get your hopes up, but it's still going to be fantastic. I'm expecting it to possibly hover around $600 or so, and that's a conservative estimate. Perhaps it'll be a little more than that. I know a lot of you guys will also be asking if you do happen to cop these, because there's going to be a decent amount of you guys who do cop. Should I sell ASAP, or should I just hold them for a decent amount of time? So this is what I'm going to recommend for this release. I would recommend selling them as soon as possible, as soon as you get them in hand, or perhaps as soon as they ship to you. Get rid of them that very day. Or you can wait for the price to drop as more pairs go into circulation, and after that drop in price, you will see that prices will eventually, after a few months, start to rise a little. It's not going to be a significant rise, hence I don't really think holding them would be worth it. I think that proportionally, it's not really worth to hold them. If they were a shoe that was reselling for $300 and they would increase by $100 in the future, I would say, yeah, hold them. But considering it's already at $600 and maybe the potential rise would be like $50 to $100 or so, I don't think it would be worth it to hold them, but it's up to you. Anyway, with that, I will actually conclude today's video. Feel free to leave a like if you enjoyed today's video, or if you perhaps learned a thing or two. With that, also, subscribe and turn on post notifications if you happen to be new. Also, have a fantastic rest of your day. Good luck on this release, of course, and I'll see you guys later.
The F to the double O, even the T. Get that big foot away from me. Get your foot off my foot. Ah.
Get your foot off my foot, yeah!
Why you hurting me with your foot? Can't you find somewhere else to keep it put? Get your foot off my foot. Ah.
Get your foot off my foot, yeah!
And mom always told me not to play when another man's foot is in the way. Get your foot off my foot. Ah.